With House Intelligence Ranking Republican and author Congressman Devin Nunes. Congressman, we love having you back on. Okay, let's go right at it. What's the next step in this Hunter Biden story? What is actionable here? Because Hunter Biden's former business partner, Tony Bobulinski, told Tucker Carlson that, yes, he did meet Joe Biden twice. He was a first-hand witness to the Biden's business deals with China and other countries. That he's saying Joe Biden will be, quote, compromised as if he wins the presidency. What's the next step?
Well, I think there's a couple things the way that I look at this. Either the American people are going to learn about this, and I will say the polling that I've seen shows that at least the Republicans are very aware that this has happened. If by some strange chance that the president is not reelected, then I think what you will see quickly happen is the Politburo, the apparatchik, Kamala Harris, my senator from California, will move quickly to eliminate Biden off the playing field. So my expectation is that Biden won't become president, but even if he does by some strike of lightning, he's going to be quickly eliminated from the field as quickly as possible, because this is just something that cannot be ignored.
So you're saying he'll essentially be pushed aside. That's a big thing to say. That's what your feeling is right now, seeing the lay of the land. But when it comes to these emails from Bobulinski, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, Liz, I just say that because if you receive $3.5 million, you've heard me, I think we talked about this last week, but you just can't get $3.5 million from an oligarch from Moscow. Anybody watching this, including myself, the FBI would nuke our house. They'd come after our house with more agents than they came after Roger Stone. $3.5 million does not get wired to any American citizen. So, yeah, and then you take on top of that Bobulinski. He was brought in to be the CEO. He's got text messages, voicemails, everything like that. It just can't be ignored.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. So the $3.5 million from the wife of the former mayor of Moscow goes into an account controlled or connected to Hunter Biden. The emails from Bobulinski don't conclusively show that Joe Biden got any money or took any payments from them or the Chinese. But we are digging into these very complex shell operations that this deal with the Chinese energy company conglomerate CEFC had set up. Bobulinski said Hunter Biden allegedly worked with CEFC, that Chinese energy conglomerate that was backed. The leader of it, the head of it, has gone missing. He was connected to the People's Liberation Army. They were trying to buy a 14% stake in Rosneft, the Russian state oil company, when at that time Russia faced sanctions because of its invasion of Ukraine and seizure of Crimea. We're looking at a shell connected to the CEFC that wired, $5 million into Hunter Biden's law firm, and also $1 million directly to Hunter to represent another individual at CEFC. We're going to dig into that in a second. What's going on with Rosneft here?
Well, it's funny you make me laugh about that, because a few weeks ago when these Biden tapes first surfaced, the one thing I noticed was that the similarities that there were between the Steele dossier, the Clinton made-up dirt. And one of the things I said at the time, it looks like they took what was Clinton and Fusion GPS's fantasies that they built off of Hunter Biden and his laptop and his escapade, so to speak, in Moscow. And then now with this new revelation of Rosneft, and the reason, just to remind your viewers, this is exactly what they said, that remember poor Carter Page? He was accused that he was going to get billions of dollars worth of Rosneft stock in exchange for his cooperation with Vladimir Putin to help corrupt the Trump campaign. You really can't make this up. It's almost like they really did make, they got this from the Bidens, the Steele dossier.
Yeah, stay in this for a second, because I think it was either you or another congressman at the time of impeachment. We were asking, they're really hammering away at the president here. Is there something that the Democrats knew about what the Bidens were doing, given the deep, it seems, and by the way, this isn't just Bobulinski's emails we're talking about. We're digging into government documents. We're digging into Treasury Department documents, into U.S. bank wire reports and suspicious transaction activity. And that's what we're using in our reporting. So maybe the question was, do the Democrats know this, that this was gigantic shoes to drop in the Biden story, given what was going on, during impeachment, going after President Trump? I mean, here's the thing. We're going to dig into this in the next segment. Tony Bobulinski is emphatic that Joe Biden's involvement came much earlier in this deal with CEFC starting in 2015. And let me back up what Hunter was doing 2015 while Joe was still vice president. We've got Obama White House entry logs in 2011, Chinese businessmen involved with Hunter Biden checking in to meet the vice president. Let's listen to Tony Bobolinsky here about how he met Joe Biden. Watch this.
And Hunter and his father and security came through the bar, and obviously I stood up out of respect to shake his hand, and Hunter introduced me as, this is Tony, Dad, the individual I told you about that's helping us with the business that we're working on and the Chinese. You know, we didn't go into too much detail on business because prior to Joe showing up, Hunter and Jim had coached me. Listen, we won't go into too much detail here. This is just a high-level discussion and meeting. After I met with Joe Biden the morning of May 3rd at the Milken conference and then was taken backstage after Joe had spoken, he just sort of asked me to keep an eye on his son and his brother. I 1,000% sit here and know that the big guy is referencing Joe Biden.
Okay, there's that. Bobolinsky says it's a, quote, blatant lie. Joe Biden doesn't know about his son's business dealings. And then you have, I just sit for a second. We want to show this as well. Joe Biden's brother, James. Tony Bobolinsky said, hey, Jim Biden, what are you doing taking a political risk with your most important asset? Listen, Devin, Congressman, I want you to listen to the plausible deniability line here. Let's listen to this.
So as I was listening to Jim walk through this, I'm thinking about the Biden family. Like, how are they doing this? I know Joe decided not to run in 2016, but what if he ran in the future? Aren't they taking political risk or headline risk? And I remember looking at Jim Biden and saying, how are you guys getting away with this? Like, aren't you concerned? And he looked at me and he laughed a little bit and said, plausible deniability. Aren't you concerned that you're going to put your brother's, future presidential campaign at risk? The Chinese, the stuff that you guys have been doing already in 2015 and 2016 around the world. And I just can almost picture his face where he sort of chuckles and says, plausible deniability.
Okay, you know what that means? Congressman, it means the shell units, it means the LLCs, it means all the ways that they were wiring money to each other and doing the deal making behind the scenes. What was your reaction when you heard that?
Well, I watched it last night. It was stunning. He's a very credible witness, and I would just point out two important points. One, it appears like he had been a Democrat in the past because he had given money. And two, the reason that you didn't play part of his testimony last night, why would somebody like this come forward? Well, it turns out he came forward for the same thing that many of us around the country, including myself, have dealt with for the last 4 years. And that's every time we make a move, the Democrats and the mainstream media stand up and say Russian disinformation. And just so happens this guy's a patriot. He was in the military. His family was in the military. And he said that he saw Adam Schiff and the Democrats accusing him of spreading Russian disinformation. And he said, I'm not going to stand for that. And he gave them, if you listen to what he said after that, he gave them time. He called the Bidens and the Biden campaign and said, look, I want Adam Schiff and the Biden campaign to take this back. And they wouldn't do it. So they gave him an opportunity. Mr. Bobolinsky gave him an opportunity to take it back, and they wouldn't. His honor and his commitment to his country, I think, was threatened. And so he came out and very forcefully in the interview last night with Tucker Carlson, I think gave a compelling testimony to the American people.
Okay, this story's not over. And Congressman Nunes, it's great to have you on. You'll be back soon to talk about it. It's good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us, Congressman Nunes. Good to see you.